I feel like I'm looking up at her as I am sliding down a well. It feels like she's about to pull a Scar Mufasa type thing and fling me off of what little brick that I'm clinging onto as I climb out of this wishing well. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. Hey guys, it's Nicole. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I cried 3 times today, but you wouldn't know it because I feel a lot better when I'm filming, so I'm so glad to be doing this video. This was actually a requested video. I can't remember who requested it though. If you comment down below, I will thank you for your request because I really like this idea. I did a video a couple months back, I think, where I ranked and analyzed all of Taylor Swift's album covers from debut to Evermore, including Fearless Taylor's version, but I never really thought about the fact that she has literally 8 different covers for Folklore, so that's a really good idea to go through all of those and figure out which one is the best cover. I am going to be ranking them, but I'm kind of going to be analyzing them a little bit. There's not going to be as much analysis as I had in the first album cover video because I feel like they're all kind of going for the same vibe and purpose. As far as my ranking goes, I'm kind of going to base it off of what she was going for with the cover and kind of the meaning behind Folklore that each one conveys and whether it does it effectively, especially for what Folklore kind of needs to mean for her audience. Okay, I'm the queen of popular Taylor Swift opinions. The number 1 cover for me would be the In the Trees version, which ended up being the standard like default cover that she was using for Folklore. I already did a whole analysis over this cover and why I think it's so great in my previous cover analyzing video, but basically I just think this embodies Folklore so well. I love how she really played with size in this photograph, the fact that the trees are enormous compared to her in the photo. You know, I'm a sucker for symbolism. I love that that kind of can be a representation of how everybody felt during the pandemic. Small and insignificant and completely out of control. Even someone as powerful as Taylor Swift in the pandemic really just has no control, has no insight as to where it's gonna go. Like, we were all kind of on the same page in the sense that we were just very, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, uninfluential, I guess. This cover has a lot of uncertainty. I like that about it. I like that when you zoom in on her face, it looks like she's staring up off into the distance, kind of in wonder and awe of the situation around her. There's a lot of uncertainty. I feel like it really sums up the album really well. This is one of her best covers, not just one of the best Folklore covers. Number 2 for me is the Running Like Water version. This is the one that I actually ordered right when Folklore dropped. First of all, I love the lyric running like water. It's such good wordplay, and also I love literally anything to do with water. She's embodying that line because her back is to the camera and she's running away. And I feel like this really captures the fear at the heart of the pandemic, while the first one was kind of the uncertainty and marveling at the unknown. This one is like, okay, sometimes I genuinely feel terrified and hopeless and I want to run from these problems, possibly into escapist type lyrics that she had in the Folklore songs. I kind of like how this cover isn't straight on. Like, when you see the horizon, it's tilted a little bit, and I think that's kind of interesting. Now, fair warning, I am way more of a writing type of art and music type of art inclined person visually. I'm not the kind of person that has an eye for photography, but just me as a casual viewer, I think it adds a lot of interest to have the crooked horizon. I like how her figure is kind of swallowed by this giant coat, and it almost feels like she's running away from something, like with a security blanket around her in a sense. That's just how I interpret it. I think it's a pretty strong cover. Number 3, the next cover for me is the In the Weeds cover. I love the way she named this one. I love how it's in the trees and then in the weeds. The fact that she's in actual like long stocky weed-like grass. This one's also giving me very deer in headlights, very caught off guard, which I think again is like another emotion people were feeling during the pandemic. I think she hit like the 3 top most relatable feelings in those 3 covers. I also actually tried to recreate this cover because I liked it so much. I liked the vibe. I like deer. Her standing in the weeds, it's almost like they're so tall, you know what I mean? They're almost up to her shoulders, and she's a very tall girl. I'm actually the same height as Taylor Swift, subtle flex. But yeah, they're almost up to her shoulders. I feel like it's just a representation of something that's completely overwhelming her, which if you lived through the pandemic, you will know that's exactly how the pandemic felt. Again, this one, amazing symbolism. These top 3 ones are really strong in my opinion. Okay, next is the hide and seek cover. I feel very partial to this title because hide and seek was actually the name of the first piano piece I ever played when I was 6 years old. I don't think I'll ever forget that as long as I live. But this one is giving me very much standing outside of your parents' bedroom in like the hallway light as their bedroom is dark and you're telling them that you just threw up. That's what I'm getting from this, and don't take it in a bad way because I genuinely feel like this again is encapsulating a feeling that the pandemic gave people of you kind of revert back to wanting to go back to your childhood and the way things were before, like when you were younger and things were easier, especially people who were coming into adulthood during the pandemic. Like it's already hard enough growing up and figuring things out and how to just adult basically, but then you throw the pandemic on top of it and you feel like you just want to stand outside of your parents' door. The way she's holding her sweater, I don't know, it feels very childlike to me. I'm actually kind of surprised she didn't use a lyric from Seven maybe for this, but I really like that she called it hide and seek at the same time because that's a child game. This feels like a very childlike cover. Wait a second, is this the Woodvale cover? Yes, it is. I don't want to talk about that. Oh god. The Woodvale cover is called Hide and Seek. She really got us all fucked up over that one. Anyways, this one's giving very childlike feelings. Again, huge clothes that are pretty much swallowing her, that just lend to that helpless feeling even more. Oh my god, Taylor, I can't. I don't know if these were her ideas or her photographers, but whoever did these folklore covers, like so far, all these top 4 are really strong in my opinion. And they each represent a different feeling. I'm obsessed with folklore, if you couldn't tell. Okay, the next one I would say is the Meet Me Behind the Mall version. I don't see anything super special about this one. This is where, you know, we're at number 5 by this point. I think they're just, you know, they're gonna be getting a little weaker as far as my ratings go. I kind of like the interesting pose she's doing where her hand is like on her chin like this. It's the other way, it's like this. Do I know how to imitate poses? I guess I don't. Anyways, she reminds me of some sort of marble carved statue. I don't know, it's the way her arm and her hand look. I think that's pretty interesting. I like how she's kind of looking over her shoulder. But overall, I'm not getting any symbolism, which I'm someone who, you know, I love to look into things. I love to overanalyze, as most of you guys probably would agree. So, I mean, it's cute, but I don't think it's really doing anything super special. The only thing I could think that it would symbolize is kind of like just using art as an escape or a coping mechanism. She definitely looks like she's trying to emulate some sort of marble statue. Again, as I said, I'm not someone who's super inclined towards the visual arts, so if you have a greater understanding or background of art or art history, feel free to leave your comments down below sharing your interpretation of this one. I also, wait a second, okay, something's coming to me. This one is called the Meet Me Behind the Mall version, and her pose kind of makes me think of someone standing behind a mall. Well, she's surrounded by trees, so maybe not completely. Bear with me. Someone standing behind a mall waiting for their like secret lover to show up, and there's this uncertainty in her expression from like that sort of situation as opposed to like representing the pandemic as a whole. Yeah, this is definitely a very August friendly cover, I would say. I think it's like they approach you from behind and you're like kind of like surprised or like oh my god, is it them? You know what I mean? Like you're waiting and anticipating, hoping that they will show up instead of like flaking on you, which as we probably know, James is a little bit flaky, a little
frosted flaky.
And yeah, I don't know, maybe she's embodying Augustine with this picture. Kind of interesting to think about. I also like my marble art theory as well. Next is the Stolen Lullabies version. I don't know, I feel like with a cover that is titled Stolen Lullabies, that's one of the songs that is definitely very personal to Taylor on this album, and I feel like it should be a little more heart-wrenching, a little more iconic. I mean, I'm getting kind of sad vibes from this, but like, I don't know, it's a cute picture. It seems kind of sad. She's looking down away from the camera. Her background is kind of blurred. That also could be another representation of uncertainty, but in the sense that after she left her first label, maybe she didn't really know what opportunities she would have before she signed with Republic. I'm looking way too far into this, but the fact that the background is blurred, it's kind of like she's unaware of her surroundings and just doesn't know what's coming next, maybe. But yeah, I think it could have been better for the really amazing title that it has. I mean, it's cute, there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm not, you know, it's not serving me something really mesmerizing and symbolic in my opinion. Okay, next would be the Betty's Garden version. I love this picture of Taylor. I think it's really cute and in tune with nature as she's literally like sitting in the grass in this one, but I just feel like it could be a little better. I also love the title Betty's Garden is the only one that's not a direct lyric. It's just kind of a reference to the Betty song, which is kind of interesting. But also when you name a cover Betty's Garden, I expect there to be flowers around her and she's just sitting in a plain patch of grass. So I don't really know what to make of it. I think it's cute. It's okay. I mean, none of these covers are bad in my opinion. It's just those first 4 were really strong. Okay, next is the clandestine meetings. Clandestine. I still don't know how to pronounce this one. It's been over a year. So it's a shame that this one is my least favorite because it contains a lyric from my most favorite song off of Folklore, so that's disappointing. However, this one is giving me big horror movie vibes. This is such a horror movie poster type image, I'm sorry to say. She's like looking down on you as if she just like pushed you down a well, and it is very unsettling, and I'm very glad this didn't end up being the default image. It's spooky, it's a strange angle. I mean, she doesn't look bad, but I would be kind of mad if I had an album and the picture was taken from a below angle of like my chin and neck. It's spooky. It's definitely really spooky. It's gloomy. I feel like I'm looking up at her as I am sliding down a well. It feels like she's about to pull a Scar Mufasa type thing and fling me off of what little brick that I'm clinging onto as I climb out of this wishing well. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. Okay, you get what I mean. This is horror movie Taylor, and I'm very glad this is not what ended up being the default. Yeah, I gotta say, it's unsettling. What is she doing? Why is she brooding over the photographer? Whose idea was this? I just don't think this fits the vibe of Folklore at all. No, really bad. Makes me anxious to look at. Yeah, that would be my least favorite one. If you watched this far, make sure to comment your ranking of your most favorite to least favorite Folklore covers, and if you have any interpretations, especially if they are different to the ones I have, please leave them down below, especially when it comes to visual art. I feel like stuff is so up to interpretation. I don't know, when you have lyrics in a song, it kind of spells things out for you a little more, but when you have a visual concept that you're trying to come up with something from, there's so many different variations between cultures, and different parts of the world could see different symbols or colors and think different things, whereas like the word sad, you know, it can be translated into multiple languages and it still means the same thing, but certain colors, certain symbols, people could be looking at the exact same thing and understanding it as the same thing but feeling something completely different. So I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say about these covers. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you to whoever requested this video, and I will have another video up next week. I believe when this one goes up, my next video will be the Big Red Machine album reaction, so stay tuned for that because I will be talking about my thoughts on Taylor's songs on that album, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye guys!